Hey everyone, you know how sometimes you pick up a book and it just clicks, like it puts words to feelings you've always had, or it hands you a map to a place you didn't even know you were looking for? Well, today I want to talk about one of those books for me, The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Stone Zander and Benjamin Zander. It's not just a book, it's like a warm, insightful conversation with two brilliant friends who happen to be a world-renowned conductor and a family therapist. I first stumbled upon this gem because I was looking for something that could genuinely shift my perspective, not just offer quick fixes. And let me tell you, this book delivered, and then some. It's a how-to book, but not in the usual sense of offering strategies to win in a competitive world. Instead, its objective is to give you the means to lift off from the world of struggle and sail into a vast universe of possibility. At its heart, the book proposes that many of the hurdles we face daily might only seem like obstacles because of the framework of assumptions we carry with us. The Sanders call our familiar everyday world the world of measurement. Think about it, our lives are constantly judged by scales, standards, grades, and comparisons. We're striving for success, hoping to get to a better place, and this whole dynamic is built on a hidden assumption that life is about surviving in a world of scarcity and peril. This mindset makes us alert to danger, assess friends and foes, and focus on getting ahead. It's a world where competition is the vehicle to success, and nearly every story we tell is about overcoming odds or prevailing. But what if that's just one story? This leads us to the very first practice in the book, a truly foundational one. It's all invented. The authors illustrate this with a classic story about two shoe factory scouts sent to Africa. One telegrams back, situation hopeless, stop, no one wears shoes. The other, glorious business opportunity, stop, they have no shoes. It's the same conditions but two completely different stories. The book explains that our brains literally construct our perception of the world, much like a frog's eye only sees what it needs to survive. So, since the world comes to us as a map already drawn, a story already told, a hypothesis, a construction of our own making, the Sanders suggests that it's all invented anyway. So we might as well invent a story or a framework of meaning that enhances our quality of life and the life of those around us. Ever feel like you're stuck in a box, even when there's no real box? The famous 9-dot puzzle perfectly captures this. Most of us automatically assume we have to connect the dots within the square they form, even though that instruction isn't given. This illustrates how the frames our minds create define and often confine what we perceive to be possible. The invitation is to enlarge the box or create another frame around the data, and problems vanish while new opportunities appear. This practice asks us two powerful questions. What assumption am I making that I'm not aware I'm making that gives me what I see? And then, what might I now invent that I haven't yet invented that would give me other choices? Once you start seeing that it's all invented, you can actually step into a universe of possibility. This universe is described as infinite, generative, and abundant, where knowledge is gained by invention and life invites us to engage. Emotions like joy, grace, awe, and compassion are abundant here. It's about being oriented to abundance, caring less about control, and taking more risks. One of the most transformative practices, and frankly, my personal favorite, is given an A. Can you imagine approaching everyone with the assumption of their highest potential, regardless of what you see on the surface? Ben Zander, as a conductor and teacher, applied this in his classes. Instead of grading students, he told them they would all receive an A from the start. The only catch, they had to write him a letter, dated next May, starting with "Dear Mr. Zander, I got my A because," and describe in detail what would have happened to them to earn that extraordinary grade. This isn't about ignoring reality or saying everyone's a winner. It's about seeing the statue within the roughness of the uncut stone. Ben shares incredible letters from his students who, free from the fear of measurement, began to take risks and truly embody the musicians they dreamed of becoming. My favorite is the trombonist who found his own voice, and the young Korean flutist who learned to enjoy making mistakes and found her value. It's about how this fate is not an expectation to live up to, but a possibility to live into. It transforms relationships from a place of measuring against standards to one of respect and room to realize oneself. This naturally leads us to being a contribution, The Sanders argue that our focus on success and fear of failure are two sides of the same coin, and recalls how he grew up playing a dinner table game where his father would ask him and his siblings what they did that day, but the real question was, what did you achieve today? This instilled a constant undertow of anxiety, but then he discovered the game of contribution. Unlike success or failure, contribution has no other side. It's not about comparison. The question shifts from am I loved for who I am or for what I have accomplished, to the joyful, how will I be a contribution today? He found there was no better orchestra than the one I was conducting, no better person to be with than the one I was with. In fact, there was no better. Think about the story of the young woman throwing starfish back into the sea. The man mocks her, saying, "It makes no difference, there are too many." But she replies, "It certainly makes a difference to this one." It's not about measurable success, but the act of contributing itself, regardless of the outcome. Then there's the incredibly liberating practice of leading from any chair. What if true leadership wasn't about being in charge, but about empowering everyone around you? Then, as a conductor, realize that his true power comes not from making a sound himself, but from his ability to make other people powerful. He started putting blank white sheets on every music stand, inviting players to write observations or coaching for him, creating a conduit for their voices. This led to remarkable insights and performances where every player felt truly engaged. The profound lesson from Eugene Leonard, a seasoned violist, was that even from the 11th chair in the second violin section, one could lead the entire concert simply by being fully present and ready to step up, even if never asked. This brings us to a crucial, often humorous practice, rule number 6. The story goes that two prime ministers are discussing affairs of state when someone bursts in. Furious, the resident prime minister calmly says, "Peter, kindly remember rule number 6. And Peter is instantly calm. When asked what rule number 6 is, he replies, "Don't take yourself so goddamn seriously." And the other rules? There aren't any. How often do we get caught up in our own narratives, taking ourselves far too seriously? The book introduces the concept of the calculating self, the part of us concerned with survival, position, and control in a world of scarcity. Rule number 6 helps us to lighten up and break the calculating self script, allowing our central self, our generative, creative, and compassionate nature to shine through. Ross shares a hilarious and deeply moving story about a woman, June, and her accomplishment group playing the game Have the Best Sex Ever. June, who had left her narcissistic husband, realized her resistance stemmed from taking her own story of him too seriously. By applying rule number 6, she reframed the situation, allowing for a surprisingly positive outcome and a renewed connection. Following this, we learn about the way things are. This practice is about being present to reality without resistance, even to unpleasant feelings, and distinguishing between our assumptions, feelings, and the actual facts. It's not about resignation, like the Kel in the Babe movie who says, "The only way to find happiness is to accept that the way things are is the way things are." Instead, it's about acknowledging what is, without fighting it, so you can then ask, what do we want to do from here? It allows you to move beyond being stuck. Ross shares a personal anecdote about skiing on ice when she stopped resisting the ice and included it in her definition of skiing. Her body coordinated and she glided gracefully. Building on that, giving way to passion is about noticing where you hold back and letting go, allowing the vital energy of passion to surge through you and participate wholly. It's about connecting to the long line of life and music, transcending individual notes or moments. Then here's the anecdote of Jacqueline Dupree, the cellist, who even at 6 years old after a competition, exclaimed, "No, I'm just about to," indicating her passion was about the act of playing, not the outcome. Another student's story introduces the concept of BTG beyond the fuck it, where breaking through personal resistance leads to extraordinary breakthroughs, like winning a principal cellist position after a failed audition. Then there's lighting a spark, also known as enrollment. This isn't about coercing or persuading, it's the art and practice of generating a spark of possibility for others to share. That describes how he flew from Boston to Washington just to ask the legendary cellist Stanislav Rostropovich to play a concerto. Despite being told Rostropovich was booked for years, Ben's passion for the music ignited Rostropovich, and the maestro agreed to a single rehearsal. High risk as it was, it's about offering what lights you up and trusting that others are eager to catch that spark. Ross experienced this at a service station when she needed quarters for an air pump but only had a $10 bill. By shifting her perspective from frustration to sheer distress and making a plain request from a place of possibility, she enrolled the attendants in a joyful, collaborative interaction that solved everyone's problem. What if every challenge in your life was, in some way, on your board? This leads to being the board, perhaps the most radical practice. It's about declaring, I am the framework for everything that happens in my life. This isn't about blaming yourself, but about taking 100% responsibility for your experience of a situation, which empowers you to act differently and repair relationships. Ben recounts stopping a performance when a violinist came in too early. Instead of blaming the player, he said, I did it. This released the group from judgment and preserved their integrity, recognizing that performance always involves risk. Ross shares a profound story about a couple on the verge of separation, where she, as the therapist, helped them see that their conflict stemmed from their calculating selves. By naming the revenge preacher, she helped them understand that the enemy was not a human being but a construct, allowing compassion and collaboration to emerge. The 11th practice is creating frameworks for possibility, which is fundamentally about developing and sustaining a powerful vision. This isn't a competitive mission statement aiming to be number one, which inherently excludes others. A true vision, like Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream, articulates a possibility that resonates with a fundamental human desire, makes no reference to morality, uses no measures or comparatives, and gives its bounty now. It's freestanding and invites infinite expression. Think of the teacher who shaved her head to create solidarity with the child undergoing chemotherapy who lost her hair. This reframed baldness as a fashion statement, a choice, a game, fostering connection rather than fear. Or Ben's experience with the failing Eastleigh school, where he reframed the students' wild energy and rule-breaking into an opportunity to discuss their purpose and commitment, leading to successful concerts and transformed attitudes. Finally, the 12th practice, which draws on all the others, is telling the we story. How many conflicts could be transformed if we saw them as our shared challenge, rather than yours versus mine? The Sanders explain that history is often a record of us and them. The we is an entity that emerges when we set aside fear, competition, and struggle, and tell a story of connection. Ben's father, Walter Zander, exemplified this by narrating the long intertwined histories of Jews and Arabs with equal enthusiasm, leading a student to exclaim, what a wonderful opportunity, what a privilege for both those peoples to share that land and that history. This practice asks, what do we want to have happen here, and what's best for us, encompassing all of each of us and all of us. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa post-apartheid is a powerful example of this, choosing understanding and reparation over vengeance, and fostering integration by bringing all voices into the open. So what's the takeaway from the art of possibility? It's a profound invitation to become the artist of your own life. It asks us to recognize that our world is a story we invent, and we have the power to create new narratives, new frameworks that open up a universe of possibility. It's about shifting from a mindset of survival and scarcity to one of abundance and contribution. From the A to the we, it's a continuous practice, like a musician mastering their instrument. The others, Ben and Ross, with their infectious energy and passion, guide you through these practices, showing how they can transform everything from corporate boardrooms to personal relationships. My biggest recommendation: don't just read this book, practice it. Pick one concept that resonates, like giving an A or rule number 6, and consciously try to apply it in your daily interactions. You'll be amazed at how quickly your perception and then your reality begins to shift. It's about reminding ourselves of the dream revived that we once had as children, the delicious freedom and power of being grown up that we might have lost along the way. This book isn't just about solving problems, it's about redesigning the stage on which your life plays out, allowing your unique voice to become a contribution to the ever-evolving chorus of the we. It really does open us to the treasure of our great human capacity for creativity. Thank you for listening, and I truly hope this inspires you to explore the art of possibility for yourself. You might just find your spirit soaring, as others have.